Well, as Canadians plan to gather this weekend for Thanksgiving, new numbers show that 1 in 4 Canadians are now facing food insecurity, and over 700,000 children rely on food bank programs every month. For more on these numbers and how you can help, we are joined by Erin Filey-Wronecki, Chief Development and Partnerships Officer at Food Banks Canada. Thank you so much for joining us, Erin. We've been talking and reporting on the crisis in our food banks for a couple of years, and these new numbers continue to be more alarming. Paint us a picture of the current state of food banks right now in the country.
Yeah, so food bank usage has never been higher than it is today. So we are anticipating seeing about 2 million or over 2 million visits to local food banks in the month of October. As you said off the top, 1 in 4 Canadians are now food insecure. So that means that this weekend, where we all gather with friends and families to be thankful and have wonderful meals together, that 1 in 4 of us will be struggling to get food on the table.
It's pretty just shocking, the fact that Canada, a developed nation like ours, that 25% of the people living in the country are dealing with food insecurity. What do you think are some of the driving factors? We know it's not just one issue, there are compounding issues, but what are some of the factors that is creating such a crisis at food banks?
So, I mean, we had a number of years, of course, with high rates of inflation. And so now inflation may have tapered off, but those prices haven't gone down. Wages have not kept up with that pace. We're in a cost of living or a housing crisis. And while, we're starting to see some movement on that front, it's going to be years before sort of anything is really seen at that as having an impact.
It's also pretty sad to see that 681,450 children are making monthly visits to these food banks, and the fact that children are going to school hungry. This is not a good situation.
No, it's not. And we're in a state, we're in a global economic upheaval, as we say, and there's lots of huge plans and talk of growing this country. But that's going to be really challenging to do when, as we said, there's 1 in 4 of us are struggling to put food on the table. It's going to be hard for us to make these, big gains that the government is looking to do. And we look around and we know that there's so much potential in this country, but, it's going to be hard to do if we're not getting people the food that they need.
And according to the stats on your website, it says that 32% of food bank clients are newcomers to the country, and that most clients in this category arrived within the last 2 years. Can you talk about some of the challenges that food banks are dealing with when it comes to newcomers to the country, asylum seekers and refugees?
So food banks are welcoming and they want to be able to help everyone that walks through their door. But when you have a new community join, they do things like food banks are working to have translation services available. They're looking to help with employment services. So food banks do a lot of things to make sure that everybody that walks through their door is getting the service that they need. But it is a challenge. Newcomers are a large group of people that are coming to food banks. But we're also seeing more and more people that are actually employed Canadians that are walking through the door every day.
One of the things that I've heard from many of the food bank CEOs, and we've spoken extensively with Daily Bread, with Mississauga, North York Harvest, and because our country is growing so rapidly, they say that they don't get government supports. And when the government is responsible for the immigration file and they're bringing all these people, many of them are having to rely on food banks. I'm wondering, why isn't the provincial and the federal governments chipping in when essentially this demand is falling on food banks?
Yeah, and it goes beyond. I think the fact is food banks should be a last resort for anybody. They're not meant to be the backstop of our social services. So across the board, in terms of how we work in terms of with the newcomers, how social assistance and disability payments work, all of those things are systems that are actually being propped up by local food banks. And so across the board, there are massive changes that need to happen in order to drive the number of food bank clients down.
And Erin, as we wrap this up, can you let our viewers know how they can contribute to Food Banks Canada?
Yeah, so if you would have the capacity to make a gift this weekend, Food Banks Canada, all gifts to Food Banks Canada are being matched by our partner Desjardins. So you can come to the Food Banks Canada website and double your impact.
Erin Filey-Wronecki, we appreciate your time. Thanks for joining us.